Hello YouTube, my name is Jack. Welcome back to Barnyard Wargaming and another tournament in review. What do? We do 3 live streams a week here at Barnyard Wargaming. I often play demons. I am a bit of a demon specialist. And over the weekend, I went to a teams tournament, a 5-player teams tournament. And I'm here to talk to you about the list that I took, what worked and what didn't. So I'm gonna tell you about my list, and then I'm gonna show you all the footage from the event and how I went and what I played in each of the games and discuss each of those. And then at the end, we'll talk about what I wanna change in my list. Now, before we get started as well, I just want to let you know that we have a brand new Patreon service where I actually offer coaching, which is light coaching for 1 hour every month based on improving your gameplay or talking hobby or painting or anything to do with videos or anything like that. And we also have pro coaching as well, same thing, but it's once every week as well. And if you are a patron for at least 2 months on the highest tier, which is the Chickens of Change, then we will give you a custom artwork as well of yourself as any battle line demon unit. Also, if you like any of the models painted in today's video, then we actually do commission painting services as well, and you can check those out in the links in the description. A lot of this stuff has been painted by my partner, Adela, who does our commission painting service. So if you want any details on that, it's in the description down below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe. Join our Discord. It's the first link in the description down below, which is entirely free. We also have TTS events that run monthly down there for patrons as well. And we also do list reviews every Thursday morning, Australian time, GMT +10, if you want to get your list reviewed live on stream as well. Otherwise, let's take a look at the army. So this is what I took to the event. This is 2,000 points of demons. And you may notice straight off the gate that I am only running 2 greater demons. I have, of course, Kairos in my list, and I also have Scarbrand as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about greater demons and how beneficial they are to your army, but also how much of a problem they can be for your army as well. In my previous videos, where I talk about the lists from Tournament in Review and playing demons, I spoke about how I was running the Great and Clean ones, where I had both Great and Clean one and Rodigus, and I also had Scarbrand in my army. The reason why I have swapped out the Great and Clean one combo and run Kairos instead is because the Great and Clean ones often get killed. I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, the Great and Clean ones are really tanky, but a lot of armies in the game generally have some way to deal with killing Great and Clean ones these days, whether that be like lethal hits from Montcar Breacher spam, or lethal hits from CSM Codex, or Angron just one-tapping your Great and Clean ones. There's a lot of armies in the game that have tools and tricks that they can use to just instantly kill your Great and Clean ones, and then you're just left standing there doing nothing. This army is a bit more fast-paced. It has a toolbox strategy where I can pull out any individual unit that I might need in a specific scenario, and then I can just land on the table with Deep Strike and they can do what they need to do. It's very maneuverable, has loads of small units for screening purposes, and doesn't give up many points like you would if you were running 2 Great and Clean ones that give up 6 for Bring It Down and 4 for Assassinate each. So let's go over each of my choices. The first 2 things that I have changed up from last time is I have 2 units of 3 Fiends. Now, Fiends are actually a really good choice in my opinion because they're only 105 points. They have 5 attacks each that are strength 5, -2, 2 damage, devastating wounds, and they also annoy people with -1 to hit within 6 inches, and also -1 to your, or +1 to your desperate breakout tests within 6 inches as well. They are a very fast, very cheap little unit that can move through walls. They're great for screening purposes, and they're just all-round annoying for your opponent to deal with. And I'll also say that originally I said Fiends were quite terrible in this edition, and they were a little bit on the expensive side, but they've really come down in price. And with loads of armies getting maneuverability, like for example Hypercrypt and teleporting all over the place, or Grey Knights, these units are invaluable and I really like them. They're also really good at killing Space Marines, which means that in the meta where you have things like Scouts or Infiltrators or Jump Marines with a Power Fist in there, these guys can just run across the board, one-shot the whole unit, and then hide behind a wall if you're lucky, which is really cool. I also have 2 units of Fleshhounds. I think that they are basically for the same purpose. They're slightly weaker, but a lot cheaper, only 70 points each. They have a little flamer on there. They're really good into things like T-Suns because they have a 3-up field mode painting against psychic weapons. And they also, more importantly, on the offside of taking something like Screamers, they have 5 models in the unit instead of 3. And they're also on bigger bases, so you can screen them out really well by making a long string of fleshhounds to make super good use of making the most of the table that you can. So great for OC purposes, great for screens, really annoying unit for the enemy to deal with. And most importantly, they stack with a Renmaster. I also have 3 Noglings. 3 Noglings I think are an auto-include. You have to have 3 Noglings in your army. The reason is because if your enemy takes a secret mission, you have a really small, really annoying battle line unit that they have to kill if they want to have their battle line unit in your deployment zone and all of your battle line units dead. Typically things like the Plague Bearers, the Blue Horrors, and the Bloodletters will die, but these, you can put them in the very far corner and your opponent will have to go and deal with them if they want to get their secret mission, which can often swing games by 20 points. The other good reason to take them is that they are great for screening. They are great for things like area denial or engage in all fronts or behind enemy lines. And on top of that, they have an aura of 6 inches that is -1 to hit in melee. Really, really beneficial against versing melee armies, especially when combined with 2 units of Fiends. You now have -1 to hit across your whole army, which is really good. Next up, I have a unit of Blue Horrors. Now, they were a new addition to my army, and I basically include them because they're battle line, just like the Noglings. They are a really annoying unit to deal with because unless your opponent has a way of killing them all in one shot, they will start to split. They can hold things in melee. Their battle lines, so often if you're playing something like Swift Action or Stalwarts, they can do actions in melee or they can advance in action, and they infiltrate as well. So against something like World Eaters, you can stop all of their scout moves, you can get in nice and close and start doing some actions. It is a really good unit for screening purposes and just taking up board space. Moving on to the meat and potatoes, we have a unit of Plague Bearers, also an auto-include. They're really annoying to deal with, very cheap. They give your home objective sticky straight off the bat, and then they can uppy downy later on for doing more annoying shenanigans. They're also no slouch in melee. They're only 1 damage, but they will actually, kill a unit of like 5 Marines, for example, eventually, because there's so many wounds here, they all have lethal hits. It's a really annoying unit to deal with. I also do have a unit, a single Poxbringer here, and he's 55 points, and sometimes you can attach him to the Plague Bearers to give them lethal hits in a matchup, for example, against Knights. But often I'll actually leave him just not attached, and I'll just detach him from the unit, and he is T5, 5 wounds with a 5-up invuln and 5-up feel no pain. He is just super annoying for the enemy to deal with. And you can get him into back lines. He's really, really small. He can do actions for you. He's just annoying for the enemy to kill. So having something like this for screening the board, doing actions, just like the rest of it, is just a really, really helpful tool, especially seeing as he's this big and he can fit in the corner of the board over there. It'll be just really, really handy. We, of course, have a unit of 10 Bloodletters and Skull Taker. So this combo right here, Scarbrand, the Rendmaster, Skull Taker, and a unit of Bloodletters is literally the base of every single demon army. If you do not have these 4 units in your army, you are not playing demons correctly. Scarbrand is so crucial to giving +1 attack to these Bloodletters, and when you buff them up with the Rendmaster, these guys are getting 30 attack, strength 6, -3, 3 damage, dev wounds, and rerolling wounds of 1. And if you battle shock something, then they get AP 4 and reroll all their wound rolls as well. It's disgusting. On top of that, Skull Taker in the back here, he's gonna be getting 7 attacks, strength 7, -3, 4 damage flat, devastating wounds, full rerolls to hit and wound, because you're always going to be hitting a character unit. In pretty much every single army, there is 1 unit that has a character in it that is really hard to kill, or for example, it's some big monster that's also a character. So like a Knight, for example, or Scarbrand, anything like that. These guys will go into it and Skull Taker will literally rip it apart. And they have a 5-inch deep strike with a CP reroll for that use if you need it. They are just an auto-include. They are so, so good. And they are my MVP almost every single game. Speaking of Scarbrand, he is pretty much there just to buff these guys, and then after that, if he survives, he'll kill something big and then die in the next turn. For 305 points, he's basically a +1 attack buff. But the other purpose that he serves is he's OC5, he prevents fallback sometimes, and he's just really scary. People don't want to get close to him. So in reality, does he do that much damage? No. But does he make a big presence on the board when he lands? Absolutely, yes. and that's his main purpose. Not even dealing damage, just giving +1 attack and being scary. Ren Master, definitely an auto include, 150 points. He gives your army +1 strength, AP, and damage. Oh my gosh. Yes, you have to have a Ren Master. In one of my games over the weekend, I will spoil it for you now, he killed 6 aggressors on his own, let alone killing everything else with buffing these guys. So good. Moving over to the rest of the corn, we have a unit of 6 Blood Crushers. Now you can take these with a Skull Master, though I prefer not to these days. The Skull Master is 100 points, and he gives them potentially an extra D3 Immortals on charge. He gives their Crushers devastating wounds, and he causes battle shock tests on the turn that they charge to every unit nearby. An argument could be made that you would want to take that. It's really, really good, but also it's another character into your army. It means that you have a unit of 7, so you kind of have to be within 2 of all of them instead of one long string, and for screening purposes. And often these guys just hit something. They don't really kill it. Maybe sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then after that, they kind of just sit there and they absorb damage. They're a really good threat and a good screen. These guys do the damage. These guys are just a bit of a distraction. Moving over, we have a unit of 3 Flamers. Now, why do I include 3 Flamers instead of just like an extra unit of Fleshhounds, for example, because Fleshhounds are faster? Well, these are my MVP in matchups like GSC, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Nids, anything that has like a small little unit that wants to jump into your face. You get that crispy 3d6 Overwatch, and they're also 3 32 mil bases, very small, fitting in for corners and doing actions. They can fall back and shoot as well, so people can't bog them down, and they are actually rather resilient. 3 wounds apiece with a 4-up invulnerable save. They're really annoying for the enemy to get rid of, and having them in a certain matchup is quite good. And on top of that, it means that you have 2 other Zench units here that Kairos can give you CP back on. So for example, if you start the Flamers on the board within 6 of Kairos, and you don't want to up Kairos into the air at the end of the enemy's first turn, you can just up these instead and put them in the enemy back line, and then because you're spending a stratagem on a Zench unit within 6, you get it back on a 2+. It's pretty good. We have my 2 little favorite units here. So Kairos, he has been ups and downs for me. In some games, he is just really good. The indirect fire, the vect that he brings to the table against melee forces, he just absolutely destroys people because they can't shoot him. He's OC 5, he just vects the entire enemy army because he sits right behind my front line. For example, like behind Blue Horrors or Plague Bearers. And then he just vects everything. It's so annoying for the enemy to like not fight on death, not interrupt, not grenade strat. Yeah, he's great. I think that he's really good, and he synergizes with my army super well. He's just a threat that people don't want to get too close to. The indirect scares people away so much more than it should because he doesn't really do that much damage anyway, but people are just so worried about it. They sit their army so far back, and that presence alone just means that your army is so much faster, has so much threat. It's just such a good unit. And then on top of that, we have a Skull Cannon. Now, people don't often like the Skull Cannon because it is 95 points and it doesn't really do any damage. But you know what? He's really good at protecting your home field. He's got a big base. He's OC 3, and for 95 points, he's got 6 attacks. That can go up to 7 attacks with Scarbrand, and +1 strength, AP, and damage from the Ren Master as well. And then his gun actually is more of a threat than you would think. Range 48, it's 2 damage flat, so you can kill things like Marines. Over the weekend, it killed Locust Destroyers that were just trying to do actions and things like that. It would just shoot them down. So it's actually not bad. And causing a battle shock test for 95 points, potentially at -1 for Shadow, -2 for Poxbringer, and -3 for Blue Horrors is pretty damn powerful, especially when you want to battle shock something like, I don't know, Magnus. And then the Bloodletters charge in, +1 attack, +1 strength, AP, and damage. Oh, Magnus, you're -1 damage? I don't care. goodbye. And now we're gonna go take a look at all of the games that I played and see how I went. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk over a bunch of the photos that I took from the event, and I'm just gonna tell you about each game as we go. So this was the first game that I played against Brett. Now he was playing Grey Knights with Canis Rex, and unfortunately for Brett, I've versed him a few times and at tournaments, and he is a supporter of the channel, so massive shout out to Brett. He is a very, very lovely person to play against, but unfortunately for him, he had injured his wrist and the side of his body, and he was not feeling so great, and really I kind of felt sorry for him in this game because he was the captain of his team, and so he was there basically just to show up for the team and play for the team, but he was not having a great time. As you can see, basically I think we were playing Search and Destroy, and at some point I kind of just took over the board. Canis Rex ended up walking into the middle and killing Scarbrand, but yeah, basically I just ended up taking over the board and killing everything, and he was very much in pain. I wanted to kind of get him to surrender early so he can go to lunch. But he was, credit where credit is due. He was committed to his cause, and he stayed to the very end, and we played the full 5 rounds. And so shout out to Brett. He is a trooper, but his dice did not do very well. They betrayed him quite sufficiently, and I managed to just get Scarbrand into the middle. And after Canis Rex came through and killed Scarbrand, my Bloodletters and my Blood Crushers ended up killing Canis Rex, as you see here, and Kairos took the other side of the board. That's a dead Canis in the corner that you can see there, and so it was a 20-0 victory to the Demons. It was a lot of fun. It was an interesting mission. I believe it was Linchpin on Search and Destroy, and we played Raised Banners as well, so just getting a lot of banner points and things like that. I did get the perfect 100, and it was a good time. Now this next game was against Nick's Adepta Sororitas, so shout out to Nick. He ended up getting the wooden spoon at the event, so I am sorry, my friend, that you had to verse me in round 2. Your team ended up winning, my team won the last round, and so we ended up playing in round 2, and as you can see, he also had Canis Rex, and so yeah, this time Nick ended up running Morvenval forward, the Bloodletters ended up surrounding Morvenval. I surprisingly did not kill Morvenval with Skulltaker, which was a bit odd. But yeah, I essentially charged Morvenval, kept her in melee. I took massive pressure in the middle of the board. I had Scarbrand sitting behind a wall for most of the game so that if Nick ran forward, I would just kill him. And eventually, that's basically what happened. The Blood Crushers got in. Morvenval actually surprisingly died to Desperate Breakout, which was hilarious. This map was, we were playing Purge the Foe on Tipping Point, I believe it was, and yeah, it was a good, it was good fun. It was Tipping Point, Smoke and Mirrors is what it was. So I actually deployed Scarbrand on the front lines, and then I kind of juked him off the board. I ended up killing Canis, and it was good fun. Here you see some pictures of Adela, who was there just painting away, and there's my team in the background. Adela was painting away on some commissions while we were playing our games. Now this is jumping into round 3. This is my only loss for the event, and I had to verse the lovely Michael House. I versed him once before, recently. He, I think, used to be a Team Australia player, or at least Team New South Wales player. I don't remember which is which. I'm pretty sure it was Team Australia. He won Best and Fairest for the whole event, so it was a absolutely lovely time to play against him, and yeah, we had a really great game, but he was playing T-Suns. Yeah, that's, you can see me. Thanks Taylor for putting me into Michael House, thank you. All right Taylor, look at this, you put me here, you put me against this guy, I'm getting absolutely wrecked, and just to rub salt in the wound, watch this. I am having so much fun. How do I flip this? Look at this guy, look at him. Look at how smug he is in the very corner of the room, all the way at the back through the window. Smug.
the little man.
And so basically this game was rough for me, to say the least. I took fixed secondaries of established locust and behind enemy lines, which meant that Michael had to screen out his entire deployment zone, and I just tried to keep it close in terms of the scores. Michael ended up getting a 77, and I got a, 49, so I kept it to a 15-5 in terms of teams, which is about the best that I could hope for. It was really, really hard fought, and yeah, I don't want to do that again. I hate T-Suns. Now, this is the next day. We paired into another top team, including a team with Jordan. There's Evil Jack. He was there. Shout out to Evil Jack, if you remember him from previous games on the channel. But yeah, this was against one of the top teams, and I played into Casey, who I've played into once before, and he was my favorite match for the whole weekend. I made some massive mistakes by trying to charge aggressors into, by trying to charge bloodletters into aggressors, who then ended up getting back into their repulsor, which I knew that they could do, and I just totally forgot. So that was awful, bad mistake on my part. Swung the game probably like another 40 points or something ridiculous, because those bloodletters absolutely mulch whatever they hit. So that was a great tactic that he used there, and I just totally forgot what I was doing. But yeah, this was a close game. We were playing, it was Crucible of Battle with Stalwarts, and the mission was Terraform, which I hate. It's like my least favorite. Forces me to play on the board a lot more than just like leaving all my stuff in Deep Strike and then coming onto the board later. And here you can see this is where he basically gets me with that move back into the repulsor. I could not fit. I couldn't charge anything else. It was a great tactic. Truly awful. I did end up winning this game 13-7, which is huge. So yeah, last time I think we versed, I won by a point. So it was really good to eventually out-trade him. Kairos and the Zench units really held my left flank along with those fiends. And then the Khorne on the other flank eventually lost their fight, but I ended up winning. And here's Taylor. Hi Taylor. Shout out to my captain, Taylor. He was playing T-Suns at the event. And yeah, he went undefeated. So shout out to him. Played some mean games, and this is us basically winning this round. So at this point, we are now 4-0. This is the last little bits of the round here, where basically he kills my bloodletters and blood crushers. Scarbrand then kills his repulsor for bring it down points, and you can see eventually I just win out on points. The round was quite delayed, so I actually had to talk the rest of this game out with Casey, but we did talk it out to a 13-7. It's not the greatest victory, but a victory nonetheless, especially against Marines. I don't think demons like versing Marines when they have so many things like scouts and infiltrators to screen demons off the board. But it was good fun. I think that MVP was maybe these flamers. They just kept going back and forth trying to do terraform, and he spent ages trying to kill them. The blue horrors did really well in this match as well. So moving on to the final game. This was a bit of an interesting one. I was playing against Hypercrypt. It was Scorched Earth with Tipping Point again, and Swift Action, so you can advance and do actions. And I was playing against Bugman. Shout out to Bugman. He was a lovely opponent. I would definitely verse him again. And he had 2 monoliths with Hypercrypt. So he was playing Hypercrypt. He had a unit of 20 warriors with Orokin. He had a unit of 10 immortals with a Plasmancer for sustains on 5s, with the enhancement for 4 rerolls to hit and wound. Luckily for me, this map, it just is really easy for me to pressure the middle of the board. And I think Bugman made a couple mistakes of trying to play a bit too passive, which Lent kind of gave me the option to screen the entire table with things like Fleshhounds, Blue Horrors, Skull Cannon, Plague Bearers, etc., etc. And eventually, I just kind of won. He didn't have the units to fight me back. I just focused on killing everything that wasn't a monolith and then just left the monoliths alone. Hilariously, there was a moment where I knew he could pull his units off the table to a monolith for command points for stratagem, and I knew that he could do that. He knew that he could do that, and so I landed Scarbrand with Bloodletters right next to a monolith behind a wall to charge 20 warriors and Orokin with the Bloodletters, and I went, okay, Jack, definitely do not shoot those warriors. It's a bad time. Don't shoot the warriors. I ended up shooting the warriors with Scarbrand. I killed 6 of them, and then Bugman totally forgot that he could lift up his unit anyway, and I charged in and killed him. There's no more photos at the end of that game, but it did end as an 18-2, so pretty savage victory there. And here are some final shots of the last little bits of this tournament.
September Slam, your undefeated first place team.
Yeah! So here you can see we did end up winning, which is great. I think this is the first event I think I've actually ever won, which is really awesome. So shout out to my team. Let's check out my list and see how it went. So going forward, I actually think that my list performed really well. I had one loss, and that was against a T-Suns player who is one of the best players in Australia, and it was on a light table, and everyone expected me to get a 0. So for the gap to be a 15-5, which means that he basically beat me by like 25 points, is really not a bad effort from me at all. I kept the score really low, and at the end of the game, I actually nearly brought it to an 11-9. That would have been an unbelievable effort for a demon army going into T-Suns, and also on a light table. It's pretty dang good. I think the Fiends performed exceptionally. I really like including at least that one unit of Flamers because in Sun matchups it's really good. For example, against Sisters or against Eldar. If I have to have that matchup, then it's just really, really good. The Blue Horrors performed really well. They screened so well all weekend. The infiltrate threat was amazing. Just generally, the threats in my army alone is actually probably what won me a lot of the games. Because people don't really understand how much damage you can do. If someone with the same amount of knowledge actually versed this army, then it wouldn't be too hard to beat. But the threat of Kairos' shooting, the threat of the infiltrate from the Blue Horrors, the threat of Scarbrand killing you because he just kills anything. It's not actually true. Scarbrand doesn't want to charge things like Angron. He doesn't want to charge things like a Knight with an Invon or a Monolith with an Invon because eventually you'll die and you don't one-shot it, and then because you're ludicrously squishy for 305 points, he just dies in the next turn. So a lot of this army is built on threat, and having this many units to screen the board and apply pressure where you need to is really good. I actually love this list a lot. I think the toolbox strategy of pulling units out where you need them and having one specific unit for one specific job is really good. It means that you have to know the army really well and put your units in specific locations, which requires a lot of practice. But beyond that, it's great. I think that my one question about it is, do I want to include the Poxbringer for 55 points? That's the last little bit of the army I'm a bit iffy on, but for 55 points, I mean, in some matchups he was clutch. He's really annoying to get rid of. He can bulk units in melee, he can buff the Plague Bearers, or he can go off and do his own thing. My army only gives up 5 characters for Assassinate, and no one's ever going to pick Assassinate against me, seeing as I only give up 12 for Bring It Down. So no one is ever going to take Fixed against this, so Assassinate doesn't really matter. And in some cases, even when people do draw Assassinate and this guy's out of position, they don't even kill him because he's T5, 5 wounds with a 5 at Feel No Pain. Sometimes you can spike that really hard and it leads to a huge swing in your favor. And having that single 32 mil base that people just don't want to overwatch, putting that 3 inches away from enemy units in the enemy's backfield to do behind enemy lines and establish locus is pretty funny. I think for 55 points, it's not so bad. I think that's my only real question. The rest of the list performed beautifully, and I don't really want to change it going forward. I think if you're playing at this current state with demons and you have all these models, try this out. It's a good list. And in my opinion, it has a lot more tricks, it has a lot more tools, and it plays the game a bit better than something like Pure Khorne. That being said, if you're going to a teams event, this is more of a flex pick. So this would be good into lots of different armies, whereas pure Khorne would be really good into one specific army kind of thing, and really bad into others. So you really have to pick your matchups really well, but this has a bit more variety. Bam, here's a trophy to prove it. And I'm honestly really proud. Our team did incredibly well. All of us tried really hard. We put in hours for practice, and we ended up on top. It's an unbelievable effort and my first tournament win ever. I mean, I've come close many times, probably 20, 30 times, I don't know. But winning a tournament, especially my first teams event, was honestly incredible. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, I have 2 more tournament in review videos coming up really soon. I'm actually playing at a tournament right now as this video is being released. And if you would like some help with your own demon lists, then we have a whole variety of support on our Patreon that just launched. In fact, this is our brand new studio and I'm now doing YouTube full time. So if you want any support, whether that be light coaching, professional coaching, or just list reviews, or you just want to join in on our TTS events on our Discord, then check all the links in the description. The Discord is free to join. The Patreon is available down there as well. We also offer commission painting services if you want to get your army painted just like this. And otherwise, please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Peace.